Hi, hello. I'm Dr. Yo, and you're watching Q&A with CPE. And in this edition, we're going to highlight the Common App, college visits, and the interviews. So um, each week we do an hour long, approximately hour long, give or take. Tonight's going to be much shorter, as you'll see. Um, But we do a period of time where we are somebody, usually myself, Dr. Yo, or somebody else from College Trip Express is available to answer your questions that arise as you play the college admissions game from ninth grade through 12th grade. So the idea was anybody has any questions at all regarding coursework or regarding sports or activities in school or out of school, community service, test prep, visiting schools, applying to schools, having interviews at schools, etc. Anything that plays into helping you get into your first, second, or third choice school, which is, of course, the main mission of College Success, are fair game to bring in the form of questions or comments or discussion to a Q&A with CPE on Google Hangouts. Just recently, one of the much smarter members of the staff at College Trip Express suggested that instead of just having wide open any questions, we could try to do them thematically. So last week we tried that, doing an edition just on the PSATs, which were yesterday, as many of you juniors know, or this Saturday for those who didn't take it yesterday. A lot of private schools will do it on Saturday. And that seemed to work out well. You can see that Google Hangout, that Q&A with CP and Google Hangouts on our YouTube channel. All of the Hangouts are immediately uploaded there for your viewing pleasure at your convenience, on demand, of course. And so tonight and next week, we're going to do a Q&A on applying on the college applications, on visiting schools, and on interviews. And I hope that by next week we'll have some people here actually asking live questions, and I will do my best to field them. I think for tonight, I'll just give a quick sort of overview of each of those three topics, maybe stimulate some ideas for questions for next week, and we'll see what happens next week. Okay, so when it comes to visiting schools, a lot of seniors now are visiting schools for the second and third time, trying to narrow down their list to, which school am I going to apply early, or what's going to be my first choice, second choice, third choice school. And so a lot of seniors are visiting for the second time, as opposed to first college visits, which typically happen winter or spring of the junior year, sometimes as late as the summer for busy students and families who can't get there in the winter and spring. What you want to do when you visit a college campus is a number of things. It's an opportunity, obviously, for you to check out the school, but it's also an opportunity for you to give certain official representatives of the school, particularly those in the admissions office, an opportunity to get to know you a little bit. So you want to keep both of those ends in mind. What you want to do in checking out the university to see whether, in fact, it's a good fit is be there, physically be there, get a feel for the place, soak in the atmosphere. Try to talk to some students or staff or faculty, people who are hanging out in the lunchroom, in the freshman union, in the libraries. You certainly want to do all of the official events offered, which typically include a tour. If you visit any school's website, they have information about when the tours are given. Sometimes they're like every hour on the hour. Sometimes there's twice a day. You can certainly call the admissions office as well and find out when tours are given on a day that you may be visiting. When you want to take a tour, you want to go to what's called the information center, or more informally, the info session. That's usually a 20 to 30-minute dog and pony show that a representative from the admissions office puts on, and essentially they're trying to tell you all the best, the highlights reel of the school, the best reasons to apply, what they're promoting, what they're proud of, maybe the new multi-million-dollar science center, or some great new engineering internship program they're starting, or some new athletic program or outreach program. But the info session is a great way to get to know the school. It's also a great time to collect information that you can use later in the "why do you want to go here" supplement question. they often are going to tell you what they consider some of the best parts about that particular school. And so that becomes great information to feed back to them when they ask you, why do you want to come here, say, as opposed to somewhere else? And you say, well, as I learned about in the info session, yalbity blah, blah, blah. So you want to take a tour, you want to go to the info session. I also advise students to try to have an interview. I'll talk a little bit more about interviews in a minute, so we'll just put that aside for a moment. I think a great way to get to know a school, and also something that could work in your favor, is to attend a class or two, particularly in a field that you might study, that you might major in or minor in when you get there. So if you know, for example, you're going to be a business student, you're going to be going to business management or finance or marketing and advertising or something, wouldn't it be a great idea to call the admissions office before a week or so before you know you're going to be there and say, I'm going to be on campus next Tuesday, and I'm very interested in studying business management, finance, marketing, whatever, and I would love an opportunity to sit in on a class with other business undergraduates or in the business school, whatever the case may be. Are there professors who are willing to have prospective freshmen sit in the class to get a feel for the program, to get a feel for the coursework? Typically, they'll set you up with at least one or two classes that you can go attend, and there's really no better way to get a real feel for the level of academic intensity or lack thereof at a given school, to see if you can speakily the lingally of the student body. If you connect with them, you can learn a lot. You're going to spend a lot of time in your classes in school. And so, if you're shopping for schools, that's a great place to shop, is in the classes themselves. Also, it's, again, something nice to bring up in your essays. Why do you want to go here? You say, well, I'm expecting to study psychology, and I sat in on a fabulous psychology class when I visited campus, and loved the professor, or blah, blah. You say something specific about that experience. That carries more weight than, talking about the reputation of the school or the location of the school, for sure. So tours, info sessions, attend classes. If you have a special talent, whether that talent lies in athletics or performing arts, you can arrange to have meetings with appropriate personnel, appropriate representatives from the university. So if you plan on playing D3 sports and you're at a D3 school, by all means, meet with the coach. Find out, maybe you can attend a practice or watch a practice. Maybe you can work out with the team. You don't know if you don't ask. Same thing if you're an instrumentalist or a singer or an actor. You can meet with the official personnel of the university and find out what kind of opportunities are there for English majors who want on the side to continue their acting in college. Are there lots of opportunities? What kind of opportunities? Are there student groups? Are there university-sponsored acting troupes? What's the deal with acting or whatever? But you can, make relationships with some of the people at the school, and then have an email exchange. You never know how that may help your chances to get in at the 11th hour. Okay, so those are some of the things to keep in mind when you're visiting schools. And then one final thought is, if you're going back for the second time and you're really using this visit to see, is this my first choice or second choice or third choice, I would recommend leaving mom and dad at home. I would go overnight. Part of being at college is being away from home and seeing how you feel about the place all by yourself. If you don't know someone who attends the school that you can make arrangements to stay with overnight, that's something that the admissions office is more than happy to any school to set you up with. You just make a call and say, I'm coming for a tour and an info session on Friday. I would love to come up Thursday after school, and if you could set me up with somebody, to stay over. In particular, I want to study engineering. If there's anybody in the engineering department or program or studying engineering, that would be ideal for me. I also would like to take classes. The admissions office will work with you to set up an experience that will cast the university in the best light from their perspective, and give you an opportunity to really see if it's a good fit for what you're going to be doing when you get there. And remember, the most important thing you're going to be doing when you get to college, regardless of the stories you hear, is studying, is learning. You're going to an institution of higher learning. So to go and check out what kind of learning is happening there is a really good thing to do, and has benefits for the actual application. As I said, this can come out in some of the supplement essays that you write for the various schools. One of the things that I mentioned you want to do, if you possibly can, is have an interview. In almost every case, I recommend my students have interviews. I see it as something that could potentially help. Very rarely is it going to hurt. If you're so antisocial and so afraid of conversation that it's going to make you look bad, okay, maybe for you, 1 in 100 don't have an interview. But vast majority of kids, I think, most people in admissions enjoy talking to teenagers and love the energy that adolescents bring and the excitement of, being a senior in high school and the prospect of heading off to college. That's fun for them, and they like talking. That usually, like I said, there's a lot more potential upside than downside. So what you do again is you call the admissions office, say, I'm coming for a tour and an info session. I would love to have an on-campus interview. They're going to say one of two things. Either going to say, oh, I'm so sorry, we don't offer on-campus interviews. We did away with those 5 years ago. What we can offer you is an alumni interview, or you can ask, do you have alumni interviews? That's when they set you up with an alumnus or an alumna from whatever hometown you happen to be in. They'll find some graduate who's willing to do an interview, an alumni interview on behalf of the university, to sit down with you at some local coffee shop. I always advise students that, when they make the place to meet, any public place, library, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, those are good choices. If they ask you to come to their house, I would just say, I've been advised, my parents, my guidance counselor, whatever, suggested that we meet in a coffee shop or in the library. How about meeting in, the public library in town as an alternative? When you have your interview, or if you're going to have an interview, I strongly recommend that you prepare for it. And that preparation comes in two forms. Number one, you need to do your homework on the school. You want to spend some quality time the night before, 2 nights before, going through the school's website, finding out what's hot, what's happening on campus, look at the homepage, go to the department in the field of study that you're particularly interested in. If you're going to be an engineer, check out the engineering department. If you're going to be a business major, check out the business department. If you're going to be a Russian literature, check out how they're teaching Russian literature. Find out the names of the professors who are the big wigs in the department. Find out if there's a statement, as there usually is, of the teaching philosophy. Find out if they're doing internships, if they encourage study abroad. Know your school before you get there so you can have an intelligent conversation about it and you're demonstrating your interest in it. It's one thing to tell them they're your first choice. It's another to demonstrate that they're their first choice, because you know your stuff. You've done your homework. You know what programs they offer. You know the ones that are commensurate with your interests, and you know what you're going to do with the opportunity should they offer you the opportunity to attend. The other thing that interviews are really good for is, or the other preparation you should do for your interview is to be familiar with the most commonly asked questions. There aren't a billion questions that they can ask you. I have at College Trip Express, we developed an interview prep guide that includes what we consider the top 20 most commonly asked interview questions. It's a really good idea to run through them. Most of them are very straightforward. What are your favorite subjects? What do you consider a strength? What do you like to do in your free time? These are not curveballs. They're not tricky, but still you'd be surprised how much benefit accrues to those who just try to talk it through once, just rehearse. You can do that at College Trip Express. We have a really neat interview prep package where you come for 2 hours. The first hour, we talk about the interview, what you're supposed to get out of it, and we rehearse those 20 questions, and you go away for a couple days, digest, come back, and then the second hour, we spend the first half doing a mock interview, which we video record for your viewing pleasure only. Up to you whether you want to post it to Facebook. And then in the second half, we critique. We analyze what went well, what we might want to rethink and rephrase in the real deal. But I can tell you from years of doing this that and every single student who's ever done it says, I'm really glad I did it, because when I was giving my answers, I kind of had a rough idea of what I was going to say. So go into your interviews prepared. Be prepared to talk about the school. Also be prepared to talk about yourself and be familiar with some of the more commonly asked questions. You can get a list of those online too if you don't have the time or budget to come to College Prep Express, the interview prep package. Third thing that we thought we'd include in the theme is writing your actual Common App. Essentially, there's 4 components. I think only 3 are really worth talking about. The first component is what I like to call, name, date, serial number. Those forms where you talk about, your demographic information, mommy and daddy's demographic information, where you go to school, what courses you're taking, your test results if you want to self-report them. But all that's very simple, sort of factual information. The second of the 4 would be your activities list. That's where you get up to 10 activities. Those include major extracurricular activities. They include athletics. They include out-of-school activities like hobbies. They include volunteer and community service work. They include paid work and summer jobs and summer interns. And they include the catch-all other category. I think that is a very important component, very important piece of your application that doesn't get a lot of attention, not nearly as much attention as the personal essay, the 250 to 650 word essay that you hear everybody, talking about and stressing about and working hard on it, as they should work hard on it. But the activities list is important, because it's actually when the admissions committee prints out your application from the Common App, they get all this name, date, serial number, factual stuff. Your GPA and your test scores obviously are going to begin to tell the story of who you are, but really you become a 3-dimensional real live person and candidate to them when you start talking about your activities. So it's not simply enough to just spit them out onto the paper. Here's a list of my activities. You want to think carefully about how you package yourself in those, what positions you had, how the labels you give to the names of your activities, what categories you file them under. There's about 20 or 30 categories. And then most importantly, the details. You get 150 characters, which go by fast. It's literally a tweet plus 10 characters. So a lot of the time goes into maximizing what you say in just 150 characters. Give that plenty of time. It makes a big difference. That's the first impression that you make on them as a 3-dimensional person. Then the third thing is, of course, the personal essay, as I talked about. I have lots of information on the blog section of the website that you can read to get you started with how to choose a topic, what to say, what not to say, traps to avoid, that kind of stuff. Just use the search bar, just type in personal essay or college essay or application. You'll get a bunch of good free blog posts about that. And then the fourth thing would be your supplements. And again, I have lots of blogs on that. One thing I'll say quickly about the supplement, the most common supplement essay question is, why do you want to go here? And understand, I think the best advice I can give you there is, there's an implicit part, an unstated part of that question that you want to get right. And that is, what they're really trying to get at is, what can you get from us at the University of fill in the blank that you can't easily get at another institution? So I'll call you right back. So for the supplement, why do you want to go here? You want to talk about what you can get from them that you can't get elsewhere. So you don't want to talk about things like its great reputation, the beautiful weather, the lovely buildings, the fact that my girlfriend or boyfriend goes there and I can't live without him or her. I mean, those may be valid and compelling reasons, but they're not going to play well in your application. What does play well in your application are specific programs, specific courses of study. I'm dreaming of becoming an engineer, and the sequence of courses from freshman to sophomore to junior year offered in the engineering program at your college is exactly what I'm looking for in terms of my training, which will position me for graduate school or my future career, or the internships made available through the business program. And when the school sets up students in industry and gets them real jobs where they can apply the knowledge they're learning in the classroom to real world context, that's a compelling reason why you want to go there. Or certain community service outreach programs they have at a given university that they don't have at another. Anything specific. And again, you can see why if you pay attention during the info sessions and you hear what they're telling you about what's awesome about their school, you can say, hey, isn't that funny? I'm exactly in the market to buy what you people are selling. Anything that you might hear the tour guide say, and the tour is a special thing about the school. You want to think of what's specific to the school. What can I get at Tufts that I can't get anywhere else? What can I get at UConn that I can't get anywhere else? What does Tulane offer that I can't get anywhere else? And again, it can't just be the beautiful antebellum architecture. It's got to be something, I think, academic, or something in their internship programs or community service programs, something more robust that is going to impact your daily life for 4 years while you're at that university. That's what they want to hear. Okay, so there you have it. I hope I've whet your appetite. Maybe I've raised some questions for those of you who see this in the next week. Next Thursday night, which will be Thursday, October 23rd, we do it all again. We're going to run the same theme because this is the season when students are having interviews, are visiting campuses, are completing their Common App. So if you have any questions about any of that, or you want help, I'm committed to being here 8 to 9 next week. So all you have to do is join the Google video. You can reserve a spot. There's 10 reservations available. That's a limit imposed by Google Hangouts, not College Trip Express. But I don't think that's a problem. We haven't had an overwhelming response to this, so it's good for those of you who want to get some free, good quality help. Here we are. So we hope to see you next week, and good luck with your visits, good luck with your interviews, and good luck writing your Common Apps. We're here to help. I'm Dr. Yo, and you've been watching Questions and Answers with College Trip Express on Google Hangouts. See you next week, I hope. Bye-bye.